G'day Internet, welcome to Stick Ninjas, Devlog episode 14. My name is Andrew Russell. Now, this week I finally got around to watching Indie Game the movie, which I pre-ordered, so it's taken me a little while to get around to it. And it's a pretty good movie. I liked it. I thought it was very emotionally charged, and while I was watching it I was like, it's a little bit sort of overblown, all these, emotions and stress. But actually, if you think about it, it's a movie and it's got to stay interesting and dramatic. And when I think about the times in, say, my life where I've been stressed out or pissed off or upset, I'm sure if you took those sections of my life and you distilled them out of, all the just sitting at my computer and coding and, which is fun and all, but, it's not, I don't know, exciting for people to watch, I think. If you distilled out that stress and put it into a movie form, you'd probably get something pretty close to what Indie Game the movie looks like. So, yeah. I think the bottom line of that movie is that, indie game development is, or at least can be, very stressful at times. And then there are those times, like release day, launching a product, getting reviews in and having people be like, wow, your game's amazing, that's fantastic. Hopefully the stress is all worth it and you sell 1 million copies like Meat Boy. I do wish they'd shown more of Jonathan Blow, who was relatively zen-like compared to everyone else in the movie. Anyway, it's a week later and people are still going nuts over the $100 Greenlight fee, which is interesting. It's sort of a very divisive topic. And the thing is, like I was saying before, indie game development is very stressful at times, and particularly that comes down to money and finances, and you're thinking, am I going to make enough money to live on? And if you look at the $100 in that context, it can seem like a huge amount of money. But then on the other hand, if you look at it, say, like advertising, I'm sure that if I put my game onto Greenlight and it never got accepted by Valve, it would still make $100 more sales just by the extra exposure that Greenlight gives me. So from that perspective, the $100 is absolutely worth it. But yeah, I still think it's sledgehammer design. I think Valve could have solved the problems with Greenlight with a lot more finesse than they have done, with better ranking and sorting and categorization and so on. So that's enough of the news. Let's talk about Stick Ninjas for a while. It has been a very unproductive week this week. I've had a zombie week, I guess. I haven't slept well, that sort of stuff. So what I was planning to do this week was to develop a new movement system and physics stuff for Stick Ninjas, and I've got most of the design for that down. And basically what that revolves around is, you see how the player character is essentially a diamond in his physical shape, and that leads to a whole lot of weird things, like if he hits a corner he gets chucked off the corner, which it looks perfectly reasonable if you're looking at a diamond, but when you're looking at a player character, that's just weird. So my plan is to convert from a diamond to a rectangle, which entails all sorts of dilemmas physics-wise. One of the nice properties of the diamond shaped is that there's a single point that can touch the ground. So by changing to a rectangle, I've got a surface that can touch the ground, and the ground can be sloped. So it's a whole lot of complexity to deal with there. And I've got most of the design done, but I haven't actually implemented any of it yet because, yeah, like I said, zombie week. So instead of programming that, I've been sort of doing a whole lot of, I guess, side tasks, and you can already see one of them. I've taken the line system that I think I showed in video 12. I've taken that line system and I've started work on a new physics overlay view, similar to the one that I showed in Dark, actually. And so that should be a lot easier to at least see in these videos, and I can modify it and add a whole lot more information to it, and so on. And one of the other things that I've sort of been experimenting with, and I'm not sure how far I want to really take this because it's kind of complicated, but I've been developing this sort of physics explorer system, which I'll show you here. So I can drag off these labels and they pop out inspection panels, and I can inspect different bits of the physics engine. And the idea behind that is that it will save me a lot of time debugging stuff and visualizing stuff. It's one thing to look at some positions on screen and see objects in relation to each other. That's very easy to understand and see what's happening. Whereas if I sort of have to stop execution in a debugger and look at the little numbers and figure out what they all mean, that's a lot harder to keep track of. And I, as a single developer, like the only programmer, I need to multiply my development time, I guess, by making tools that make my life easier. So I'm not sure this one is necessarily this one's a lot of work, so I'm not sure it's necessarily a good investment. But because I've had an off week, I've just been experimenting with it for a bit, and I might keep going with it, or I might not. The other thing that I've been sort of working on in the background this week is I've implemented Valve's improved alpha test magnification paper, which basically lets me do nearly infinite zoom sprites. So I've got my infinite zoom lines and I've got my almost infinite zoom sprites, which sort of will go hand in hand and let me do fancy zoom effects. And basically what this means is, rather than getting all pixely when you zoom in on something, it stays as nice, straight, crisp lines. And you can see that here. So I've got this working for both sprites, and I've also got it working for fonts, so I can draw text that's extremely crisp at high zoom levels. So yeah, so that's everything for this week. If you'd like more development news, you can subscribe to my blog at andrewrussell.net, or you can follow me on Twitter at _AndrewRussell, and you can visit stickninjas.com to sign up for a notification when Stick Ninjas is available for playable pre-order. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.